I'm not going back up there. It's too far to drive, and I can get just, if I focused on Oklahoma, and it's not that far, I can leave here Friday morning, and go up there and hunt, you know, the weekend, and come be back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And I can do that, you know, every other weekend or something.
How much is the Oklahoma license?
$137.
Oh. Ain't bad at
I
all.
think that's what, $137.
It's good enough, $500.
Yeah, it's 137. Now, according to what Michael told me, I want to say I paid like $300 or $400 last year. But what I bought was the big game and the small game. Okay. I want to say one deer is $137. I think that's how it works. But I went in and I paid like $300 or $400 because I bought the small game. In case a hog come out, I can shoot the hog.
Gotcha.
Whereas Michael and them told me, they said, ain't nobody care about that. I said, yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna shoot a hog and get in trouble for shooting a freaking hog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I went up there and I want to say it was like $700-800 for me and Ken to get all of it. That's bow hunting.
Yeah.
That's just
Well,
bow
I'm
hunting. Yeah, that's all I do is bow hunting. I don't even touch a gun.
I haven't shot a rifle in 4 years.
Yeah, I don't touch it. But I'm going up there. If I get my truck back, I'll probably go up there this weekend. I'll probably go up there this weekend. Oh my gosh, what is it? Look.
I've got to do is stand right here. And they can tell
Oh,
when
okay,
they're in the frame. So
all right. Thank you.
that is it. It's
Okay,
rolling.
so when we finish, what do we do?
Just leave it in here. You're fine.
Just
Yeah.
close it?
I'll probably be back before you're finished.
Okay,
But no, you can just leave it up like that. So it's got time to put something.
all right, thank you.
It's all through this. That's it.
Fine, how are you?
George.
Brian. Nice to meet you, George. Welcome. Good start in about 5 minutes here.
Somebody's gotta be the first one, that'll be me.
All right, break the ice.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Speaking of ice, you probably still have some ice in your Yeti.
Yeah.
from this morning. I like that color. I mean, I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, I had that one in blue and black.
Yeah.
All right, who are you with?
Willis Towers Watson. So we're your new broker consultant on the health insurance.
Yeah, I was in the original visit.
Okay. With Brian Hayes and yep. Yep. So Brian, my name's Brian as well, but Brian works more on the property and casualty side, and I'm specifically for like, health and benefits and all that. So Brian's kind of still involved here and there, but he's not really the subject matter expert on the health plan.
SME. Subject matter expert, SME, we used to
Yeah.
use that language.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, you
Great.
Thanks, Scotty.
get here early, get farther back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a spot you can hide a little easier.
West on.
Yeah, I think he said you got deer fever.
True. I walked by about 2 o'clock after I spoke to you, tapping my watch. I said, "Get out there."
I ain't mad at him. I'd like to go, but
I tell you, I took my 7-year-old little girl and Gray, Patrick's son, was in the box stand with me. 2 of them walked out. A few more came out. They were feeding right to left. I was both hanging in the middle of the stand. George was sitting in the chair and Gray was standing up looking out the window. He was shaking. Windows were open. I said, "Gray, are you cold?" He said, "No, sir. I just know what's about to happen." And then he moved around behind me. I dropped my phone.
that's good. You did it.
Yeah, my phone was under my leg, and I slid forward and I fell in the bottom of the stand. And my little girl, she looked up at me. She was, "Give that to me." And I handed it to her, and she stuck it in her pouch. Didn't give it back. And they walked far enough, and I shot one with my bow. I shot Patrick because he had his daughter and one of my other daughters with him, and he said, "Did you hear it fall?" I said, "You couldn't hear anything in this stand when I let that arrow go." But I couldn't believe how intense they were when that first deer walked out. I said, "Don't move your feet and make sure you turn your head slow." And they didn't. I don't even think they were breathing. But they were pretty intense. Then I told Danny that next Monday, I said, I know he takes his grandkids a good bit.
Do you know the
He got
password
figured out.
for this computer?
Taking kids to where it's at.
This is where the presentation is loaded, I
Yeah.
assume.
Just gotta have some folks really show
Yes.
up with the deer.
When I came in, it was off.
That's working with it. I see it for several times.
Conference room.
Hello,
Lou,
who's that?
it's George. We're about to get started.
George. Hey, I need to talk to Beth.
Yep.
She's
Right here.
She's right here.
Alright.
Hey,
You know, Jessica, we should just go sleep in. You dig that up for me? And email it to Ty.
We'll see if I can find it. I'm not sure if that was
Okay.
in new format or
It was not in new format.
we're gonna have to make a trip to the warehouse.
It's, the job number is 06, 0606 or 0607.
Okay. As I,
Uh-huh.
okay. I'll look and see what I can find. I'll probably have to make a trip to the warehouse.
Okay.
He said he's watching us.
You know what I'm talking about, then I assume you're going
Just
to
put
this
it
home.
back where it was. He said, I'm watching you right now.
I don't know what to do then.
Some lady fell in the shower, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, is there a video?
And They're moving
Oh,
now.
Oh, okay. And you-
all right.
He just told me you could
It's a
see
standard
yourself
completion.
here,
Come
and you
on
would
in.
know where to stand.
Yeah, he wanted to know
All
when
right.
the best completion was, 'cause that's kind of when we're done, you know.
Oh, okay.
And their insurance takes over.
I see.
So,
Okay, I'll see what I can
Like
find.
the chips in the kitchen.
okay,
Alright.
okay.
What'd you find?
So you didn't work with the one work for it. You made it.
I didn't know we had snacks.
You with this guy? You don't, I know you don't want to send me claim it. I wouldn't claim it, you know, I take care of you.
Don't call me the riffraff coming in out there around us.
And this is what we look like. You can always tell the field hands.
So watch them when they go in the room.
Okay, you can see me right now? Okay, thank you. All right, bye. First time for me.
All right. Glad I didn't do anything embarrassing. Thought it was on.
This thing has got more.
There's no knob on this one.
There's knobs all
Oh,
over
the
the
ejector button down there, Richard.
I believe it. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna fall flat out in the middle of the.
I took care of it, man.
Thank you. Somebody needs to.
Who brought these?
I did, y'all can have some.
I don't know, that big one here.
There's cookies over there if anybody wants some.
I'll let you know they're poisonous.
I didn't bake
They're
them.
not.
You gotta try 4 to find out. For
Not that fast.
Not one of each.
You don't think they're gonna give you quick and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's 3:35.
But they usually cookies. You can have to drop them cookies in here like that. I don't know who it was, they didn't come back.
Do you want me to introduce you?
Oh, okay.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Be like the,
We show back there. They were too good.
when we had the CPR training, Killian walked out, he said, George, you don't need to do this again. We had, newts and candy and all kinds of stuff. He said, George, you don't need to do this again.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started since there may be some others out in the cyberland watching us. So, welcome to everybody. I just want to introduce to you Brian Davis. I'm sorry, I got his name backwards. With Willis Towers and Watson. He's a representative of our new agent that handles our benefits with Blue Cross. So he's going to take it over, and then the Aflac agent, Terry Russell, and Richard Bowden with Liberty National be in a little bit later. Okay.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for taking the time. Your favorite meeting of the year is finally here. It's the insurance meeting, right? Everyone's excited. I see a lot of smiles. So we'll walk through this pretty quickly. Get out of here in about 3 to 4 hours. So get you home for dinner at about 8 o'clock. That's all right with everyone. No, it shouldn't take that long. The good news for this year is there's very little change. Hey, welcome. Very little change. There's a very slight change in the premium, but even that is so minimal. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. So really, this is just a review. This is what you got. This is how good you have it, kind of from an objective perspective of mine, of being able to see, tens of hundreds of other clients and kind of what they have. So I can kind of share with you my opinion on how great the plan is here, and just remind you, hey, this is how it works. This is how the HRA works. This is how the FSA works. We're going to talk about dental and vision. At the end of the day, the whole point of this is, hey, if premium's coming out of your paycheck, you need to know where it's going. You need to know how to get the most out of your plans, right? Because we all know insurance is not cheap. So we just want to make sure we do our due diligence at least once a year, right? Make sure everyone's on the same page with all this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and jump to page 3 of the enrollment guide. We're just going to walk through the medical plan here first. So the medical plan is staying the same. It's with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. No changes in the plan design. We are on what's called a grandfathered plan. So you might ask yourself, hey, how come
how come we only have one option? You know, why aren't there two or why aren't there three options? Well, the reason for that is because we're on a grandfathered plan. So our plan, the structure is so that it was structured before the Affordable Care Act. That's what makes it grandfathered, and that's what is keeping the premium lower. And because we're on a grandfathered plan, we can't make any plan changes. Now that doesn't mean we're stuck with that. Debbie, the rest of the leadership team here at Lincoln, you know, every year when the renewal comes up, they're obviously going to look at other options, and we did that this year. A lot of thought, a lot of time goes into this decision because, of course, it affects you and your family. So this year we did look at Blue Cross of Louisiana, all the other plans they have out there. And when we compared that to your grandfather plan, the grandfather plan had better benefits for a lower cost. So that's why we're keeping that for at least one more year. So that's kind of where we've been. That's where we are, and we're going to stay the same going forward. So we have what's considered a high deductible health plan, and what makes it that is that there are no copays. So your preventive care, that's your annual physical, that's still covered at 100%. So you don't have to worry about that. If you're on the health plan, just be sure to get that annual physical done once a year. You and everyone that's on the plan, that's 100% paid for by Blue Cross. Anything in addition to that, there's no copay for that. So there's no copay for prescriptions. There's no copay for office visits, for urgent care, for emergency room. That's how the plan's been structured in the past. That's what we need to remember, right? So anytime we go and we receive medical care, we're not paying a copay down here. We're not paying retail up here. We're paying somewhere in the middle. We're paying what's called the negotiated rate. So a negotiated rate is negotiated between Blue Cross and that healthcare provider. So all of that to say is that anytime there's a negotiated rate, that means it's going to be different for who you see. If you see one ER versus the other, one urgent care versus ER, one doctor versus the other, if you need an MRI on your back, well, it's going to cost a different amount depending on where you go. So all that to say, it pays to be a conscious consumer with the high deductible health plan. So anytime you or your loved ones have medical expenses or something coming up that you have time that you could think through, hey, where am I going to have this surgery done? That's when you kind of need to do some research and find out where's the lower cost for highest quality type of thing. Don't just go to whoever your doctor refers you to, because oftentimes that can be the most expensive. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning. If you have any questions, just say them throughout the meeting. We are recording this meeting for anyone who cannot tune in, so your questions are going to be recorded. But please feel free to jump in. Don't save them till the end. Just raise a hand, don't raise a hand, shout at me, yell at me, do whatever you want. All right? So our deductible is $1,900 for an individual and $3,800 for a family. Of course, the deductible at Lincoln Builders is a little bit unique because you have what's called an HRA. HRA stands for Health Reimbursement Arrangement. That means that Lincoln Builders has said, hey, this deductible is pretty high. We want to help share the cost of that deductible. So if you're an individual on the plan, employee only coverage, you have that $1,900 deductible. The first $950, which is the first half, that's going to be on you. So you have a minor surgery, you have to go to the ER, you have to do something like that. You're going to pay that negotiated rate up to $950. And then anything from $950 to $1,900 is going to be reimbursed by Lincoln Builders. Okay, so it's free money, but it's free. It's the only free money in life that you don't want, right? Because that means you're going to, seeing the doctor and all that stuff. So you don't want it, but it's free money. The thing with the health reimbursement arrangement in the past is it takes a little work on your end. It's not just, hey, you talk to Debbie, you say, hey, I went to the emergency room, give me my money. That doesn't work like that, right? We want to make sure your health information is protected. And because of that, there is a third-party administrator, Wernz and Associates. It's been the same one for years. So that's who you submit your claims to for the health reimbursement arrangement. And then you get a reimbursement to your checking account, directly to your checking account for those healthcare expenses. Any questions on the HRA mechanics for individual coverage? So for family coverage, your deductible is $3,800 for the family. Similarly, Lincoln Builders is going to reimburse the second half of that. So instead of just $950, they're going to reimburse $1,900. So of that $3,800 deductible, first $1,900 would be on you, and then the second $1,900 would be reimbursed by Lincoln Builders. So very, very generous to have that health reimbursement kind of aspect to it. It's definitely not required by Blue Cross. It's just something extra that Lincoln Builders has tagged on to say, hey, if you're having a rough year, if you have more than $950 of expenses, we want to share the burden of that and reimburse some of that to you. But be sure to submit those claims to Warrants. Because if you don't submit the claims, you're not going to get reimbursed, and there are strict requirements as far as when you submit those claims. So there's a 90-day run-out period towards the end of after the end of the year for you to submit claims. So for 2017, if you haven't submitted your claims yet, you need to do that right now. But if you don't do it in December, you have January, February, and March to submit those claims. Okay, after March, on April 2nd, if you submit a claim for reimbursement to Warrants and $950, they're going to say, well, it's past the 90-day window, we can't reimburse you anymore. Okay, there are IRS requirements for this. It's not just because Lincoln Builders wants to hold that money. They want to pay that money out to you, but they can't remit payment past 90 days. So keep that in mind with the reimbursement.
What happens when the vendor you use takes a year to bill you? That's happened to me a couple of times.
Has the bill been like changed? Like Blue Cross said they were going to pay this, and they paid this, and they.
I don't know, just got lost in their system, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be an extenuating circumstance that I think would be treated a little differently if that were the case. If you were billed, a year, if it were December and you didn't get billed for 6 months or 9 months or 12 months, that would be treated a little differently, I think. And that has happened in the past where there's been exceptions. The problem is that people haven't taken the 90-day window as seriously as we need to. So there's been a lot of difficulty administering this HRA plan past that 90-day window, and there have been quite a few people who have tried to submit claims past 90 days. When everyone's doing that, it's a problem. If there's a few people doing that because you got billed 9 months later, that's not as much of a problem.
But one thing to address with you, when you get your bill, you've already have your EOB, supposedly. Maybe if they didn't process, because that's what your HRA is paid from, is your EOB from Blue Cross. So if you didn't have if they had never processed one, then that would definitely be an extenuating circumstance.
Right. So yeah, the key to all this is that EOB from Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you haven't already, I would recommend registering with Blue Cross Online. That's the easiest way to keep track of all this stuff. Because every EOB that they produce, they're going to mail to you, but it's also going to be available online anytime you want. So that EOB is what Warrants & Associates needs in order to process your claim and reimburse you. Very good question. So as you can see, as you look at the health plan, for everything it's 80%, 80%, 80%, right? What that means, that 80%, that's called coinsurance. That applies after your deductible. So let's say you do have a really rough year, there's been sickness in the family, or there's been a car accident, something like that. You reach your full deductible and then you keep going, right? Well, hypothetically, let's say you're an individual on the plan, you have a hospital bill for $2,900. $2,900, just perfect, right at that. So the first $1,900 of that bill is going to be reimbursed, or is deductible. So you'll have to pay that out of pocket. Of course, the HRA is going to help you with some of that. But after $1,900, from $1,900 up to $2,900, that's where coinsurance starts to kick in. So there's that 80-20 split. So Blue Cross is going to pay 80%, you'll pay 20% of the remaining $1,000 bill. So you'll pay $200, Blue Cross will pay $800. So the $200 that you spent, that goes towards your out-of-pocket maximum. So that's what would bridge the gap between your deductible and your out-of-pocket maximum, is that 20% coinsurance that you would pay throughout the year. And then if you were to hit $4,100, that's when Blue Cross Blue Shield will reimburse 100% for any covered services. So prescriptions, office visits, as long as you're staying in network, if you hit that out of pocket, it's paid 100% by Blue Cross. Okay, couple of just pointers to look out for: emergency care versus urgent care. ERs are popping up all over the place, right? So if it's a standalone facility, it doesn't matter if it's the size of this room right here. If it says emergency anywhere on it, it's an emergency room. So you're going to be billed a lot higher amount for the emergency room services, of course. And then urgent care facilities, those are popping up all over the place as well. They've become a lot more comprehensive lately. So minor breaks, stitches, things of that nature, those can actually be treated at an urgent care facility. So try to go to an urgent care when at all possible, and just be cautious. That's all. I'll just leave it at that, because I was driving down the road the other day. I saw a billboard. It was for an emergency room. It said, "We now accept all insurances." And for the average consumer, healthcare consumer, they see that billboard and they say, "Oh, great! It doesn't matter what insurance I have. It's in network. They'll accept it." That's not the case. Okay, there is a very big difference between accepting your insurance and being in network. Okay, so an out-of-network emergency room, they'll accept anything you give you. If you give them, your driver's license, they'll accept it. They'll accept anything that you give them, and they'll bill that out-of-network health carrier. Your carrier, if they're out of network, they're going to reimburse the ER a very small amount, and you're going to get a really big balance bill. So with pretty much all your levels of coverage, medical, dental, and vision, that's the big thing to keep in mind. Is that if they say they accept your insurance, that's an immediate red flag. Say, hey, what does accept actually mean? Are you actually in network, or are you just accepting it and billing as out of network? You want to make sure they're contracted in network. Especially because you're on the high deductible health plan, so there's no copay associated with it. So it's going to be a lot lower. Blue Cross is going to negotiate the rates a lot lower if they're in network. An example of that, I had an MRI a few years ago. I looked at the explanation of benefits. It said the billed rate was $1,200. Negotiated rate $400. So immediately right there, $800 difference. I don't know why it's that much different, but it just is. And I was on a high deductible health plan just like this. So just keep that in mind. Prescriptions, similar to everything else, that will all go towards your deductible, any prescription costs. And then if you reach your deductible for the year, if it's a generic prescription, Blue Cross will reimburse 80%. If it's a brand prescription, they'll reimburse 60%. Okay. Any other questions on the medical plan?
So each time you go to the doctor, you gotta take your paperwork and send it back through Blue Cross. You don't just have a card to where it knocks it off automatically.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, not necessarily. So if you go to the doctor for your annual physical, it's a different story, right? It's covered. Let's say you go back to the doctor, you have the flu, and they charge you $250. Well, you're going to pay that. You're not going to worry about submitting that to the HRA company because it hasn't gotten up to $950 yet. So you only need to submit claims that are $950 and above. Because if you get to, let's say you get to $1,050, that explanation of benefits that showed you paid $100, bumping you up to $1,050, that's going to show everything. So that one explanation of benefits is going to show that you've met $1,050, even though it's 6 months into the year or whatnot. So you only have to submit the claims past $950.
Actually, Warrants and Associates requires from day one, $1.
Okay.
So that they can track the deductible.
Okay.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering. If you just walk in there because my ex had Advantage, you just walk in there with a card,
Right.
So I didn't know just exactly how it worked.
Right. Yeah. As of right now, it's all.
Like if I go to my normal doctor, they're not going to say, "Oh, well, you got to pay this much,"
It's all reimbursed after the fact.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Come on in.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so on the next page, we're going to talk about the HRA and the FSA. So the HRA, we really already talked about that. The FSA, or flexible spending account, this is a way to lower your taxable income for healthcare expenses, for medical, dental, or vision for you or your family. So your family doesn't actually have to be on the health plan for you to use this on them. So let's say you're on the health plan through Lincoln Builders and your child and your spouse are on a different plan. You can still use this flexible spending account. You can contribute money towards it. And then if your child is injured, you could use that for their healthcare expenses. So you can use it for the whole family. So the flexible spending account, You're gonna elect what you want to contribute to it for the entire year, and then that amount is gonna come out per paycheck. Okay, the really cool thing about a flexible spending account is it's all available on day one. So let's say you want to elect $800 for calendar year 2018. On January 1st or January 5th, that $800 is available right away. And then each payroll deduction, you're gonna pay that back. Okay, so it's money that's available right away. Now with the flexible spending account, what you elect during open enrollment, you can't change that throughout the year. So that's in stone. You have to do it. With the flexible spending account, what used to be the downside to them was it was use it or lose it, right? If you put in $800 and don't use that, it's gone. That changed a few years ago, so now you can roll over up to $500. So if you've never used the flexible spending account before, highly recommend just select $500. Just put $500 in there. That's going to go in there pre-tax, and you can use it to pay for medical, dental, or vision expenses. If you don't use it that year, calendar year 2018, that's going to roll over to the next year. So you're not going to lose it, and that's going to lower your taxable income. Anytime you lower your taxable income, less taxes go to the government. Good thing, right? So that's a great option. Also through Warrenson Associates. With the flexible spending account, you do have a debit card for that, so you can actually use the card for your medical expenses, and it'll come directly out of your account. So that's pretty sleek feature there. If you don't use the card, you can still submit your claim similar to the HRA. When you submit that claim, you'll have to show that it was medical expense. You weren't just going to Walmart to buy something, and then they will reimburse that to your checking account. All right. Also through Warrenson Associates is a dependent care reimbursement. So if anyone has children in child care, you can pay for that pre-tax up to a certain dollar amount. So this works for a variety of circumstances. Even if you have, maybe a parent watching your son or something like that, like your parent, so a grandparent watching the son, if you need to reimburse that grandparent, you can do so with pre-tax dollars. The only circumstance it doesn't work for is older sibling watching the younger sibling. That you cannot pay for that because that would just IRS doesn't allow that for obvious reasons. So very, very good option there if you are, paying a child care provider. Pay for it pre-tax, lower your taxable income once again. All right, so we're going to move on to the dental plan now. This is administered by Aflac. It's the Delta Dental Network. Let me see if Terry's around. Come on in. You can stand right
Here. My name's Terry Russell. Thank y'all for giving me a few minutes to talk with y'all about what Aflac can bring to the table with your benefits. I've been listening to him explain, and it sounds like y'all got some pretty good plans through the company. Last year, Delta Dental became a partner product of Aflac. It is not an Aflac product. It is Delta Dental. It's one of the top dental companies in the nation. You can find providers everywhere that are in that particular network. If you want to sign up on Delta Dental, this is important. You have to do it by the 15th of this month. If you don't, and that's for January 1st start date. If you don't, then it will be another start date like February. That is their rule, not ours. I don't know why. Aflac offers dental and vision. They have for a long, long time, but it was not true dental or vision. So they partnered with some other companies so that they could offer a true dental. And what a true dental is one that pays for cleanings and x-rays, and then you have a year's waiting period on your major surgeries and your major crowns and all of those things. The only plans that I have seen were 100% on that, 80% on some of the diagnostic and preventative, and 50% on the other with a year's waiting period. That's about the best plan that you can find out there. Again, Delta is not an Aflac product, but it's something that I can sell through Aflac at a discounted rate rather than if you went online and tried to buy a policy. I don't even know if you can anymore. Used to, you could. but I will be glad to answer any questions and help you out with it in any way. You've got the schedule inside your book, so I won't bother going over that word for word. You have the rates down at the bottom. I think it has been broken down into what will come out of each one of your checks. So, does anybody have any questions on that? My number is in the book, and I think an email was sent around to everyone also that has not only my mobile number, but my office number too. So, got questions, give me a call.
Thanks, Terry. So a few things I'll point out about dental is the waiting period. So for basic services, which would be like your cleanings, there's no waiting periods on that. But if you've had a toothache for the last 6 months, you know you need a root canal, you have not been on the dental plan, you can't just jump on the dental plan and have that root canal taken care of. There is a 12-month waiting period for major services, as well as for orthodontics. And there's also an orthodontia benefit tagged onto this. That's the one benefit that's a lifetime maximum. That's just the standard in the dental industry right now. So everything else, the basic services, fillings, things like that, that's per calendar year. So each person on the dental plan has up to $1,000 benefit paid for by Delta. But for orthodontia, that's $1,000 lifetime. So it does not start over every year. Of course, with braces, that's tip of the iceberg, right? But it helps a little bit.
What's the options of dropping that waiting period down?
It doesn't
I'll just
exist.
lob that out there.
Yeah.
12 months is a long time.
It is. It's a long time to pay for something to
Pay a
not use
premium
it.
for limited-
Absolutely.
limited service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you only get like $1,000
Right.
of dental insurance a year.
Right. Yep. Dental and vision, health insurance, everyone's got to have it, right? Dental and vision are some of those benefits that if you,
They usually tack on it.
yeah, if you're diligent with your money, if you set aside some savings, instead of paying that premium, just set that aside. Oftentimes you can come close to breaking even.
Well, I'm sitting there looking at the actual insurance and thinking I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because, I go to the doctor like once, maybe twice a year.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, that's a logical thought and one I've had many times before. I've got a family on my insurance plan, so it is not cheap. A few things to keep in mind with that, of course, are the Affordable Care Act with the individual mandate. It requires everyone to at least have the basic insurance. So if you don't, then you have to pay a penalty on your taxes.
Not after the new bill passes.
What's that?
Not after the new bill passes.
Perhaps. Yeah.
It's in it right now.
Yeah.
No
And
delay.
that will be great when that happens. But as of right now, I want to advise you what's going to happen if you're not on an insurance plan. And then the other thought that I've had personally is, hey, there's an individual insurance market out there. Why don't I just go to that individual marketplace and get something over there? That can it worked 2 to 3 years ago on the individual marketplace. The premiums have been just skyrocketing over the last few years. So that certainly could be an option. The downside to that, a few downsides, of course, is that Lincoln Builders isn't paying any of that premium, right? Currently, they're paying a significant amount of the premium. They're sharing the cost in the premium. If you go on the individual market, that's 100% on you. And everything you do pay through Lincoln Builders is all pre-tax.
I mean, I see where it'd be good for like if you had something major done, or
Sure.
something like that. But just for, I got a runny nose, let me go down there and get a couple shots in the rear.
Yeah.
I don't see where it'll actually,
Yeah.
Can I say one thing? I heard the discussion on the dental, and you're right, dental is expensive and it doesn't cover what I think it ought to cover. The people that I have found that have been the most pleased with this are the ones that have children. If you have your wife, and 3 or 4 kids, and the maximum is $1,000 per person, you come out pretty good with that.
Sure.
Getting your cleanings, you get those free, things like that. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have it because it would just be on me, and I don't go to the dentist like I'm supposed to anyway, so, you just
Right.
sort of have to weigh it out.
Right.
For one person, he's right, you could put some money up and probably come out a whole lot better with what you're gonna spend. But if you have children and everybody goes to the dentist once a year and they have fillings and all that, it might come in handy that way. It's like everything else, you just sort of have to weigh it out and see.
That's the reason I asked about the waiting period. I have 4 kids, small kids, and there's teeth falling out weekly. You know,
Well, they get cleanings probably once a year, which would be 100% paid for. I don't know what you pay for them now. Your insurance may cover that. Does it?
yeah, that's the waiting period. If there's an emergency, we have, you know, chipped tooth, anything like that, it's outside of that, you know, that 1 year.
Right.
I've got something I'm gonna tell you about in a minute that'll help with that.
Go ahead, sorry.
Accident. Okay, so I'll briefly discuss the vision coverage, kind of like we talked about. Vision is really good if you obviously have glasses or contacts. If you don't, then it doesn't make sense. If you do have glasses or contacts and you go at least once, it's going to pay for itself. The only way the insurance company is making money is for people who sign up for the plan, but then they never go, which happens to a lot of people. So a few highlights as far as how the plan works. The examination with the optometrist will be a $10 copay. Average cost for that examination, if you didn't have insurance, would be about $80 to $90. So you can see the cost savings there. And then materials, it's a $25 copay. It's going to cover glasses or contacts, but not both. So you can do one or the other. And then frequency, you can do everything once a year except get new frames for your glasses. So you can get new lenses for your glasses once a year, but new frames would be every 24 months. And then you can see your allowances there. So for frames and contacts, it's going to be up to $130 allowance.
Question.
Sir.
Every year, can we do like glasses 1 year, contacts the next year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I do. Try to make those contacts last as long as
I
you
know,
can.
right?
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
the same. All right. So that's vision insurance, and premiums are obviously very, very low there. But you can really see the savings. If you're on the vision plan and you're getting glasses or contacts, you know, do yourself a favor when you're at the optometrist office, ask them, say, hey, how much would all this have been if I didn't have vision insurance?
When does this go into effect?
So this is going to be January 1st.
Okay.
So medical and vision, that's all January 1st, and this is open enrollment. So this is the only time you can jump on. You can't
Right.
jump on it mid-year.
Right.
Yeah. All right, and then you have a basic life insurance policy. The cost of this is shared between you and Lincoln Builders. It's a $15,000 policy. That's life and AD&D. So if you were to pass away due to an accident, it would be $15,000 for life and $15,000 for accidental death. That you, sorry, not you, you would not receive it. That your beneficiary would receive. So that's a nice benefit provided to you through the company. As far as additional life insurance options, highly recommend if you're getting additional life insurance, consider options provided through your company. Reason being is it's a group plan, right? Group chassis. So I believe Aflac has some individual policies that Terry will talk about here in a few minutes. If you want to purchase some additional life insurance,
Is this just accidental death?
it's both. It's life and AD&D. So it is a true $15,000 life policy. And it's a $15,000 AD&D policy.
How does that cover you get $15,000? If you jump in the truck before you die, you're beneficiary of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get anything, right?
You fall in front of the truck, you die before you die, and that's because you get 30. We gotta need to figure out when that's gonna be, like, all of us. You gotta fall in front of the truck just before you
That's right. Plan accordingly.
take off.
So a few administrative things before I turn it over to Terry once again. So this is open enrollment right now, like I said. So you have all the forms that you need. It's an active enrollment, meaning you need to elect once again this year. Everyone, if you elected employee spouse coverage last year, you need to elect employee spouse coverage again this year. Lincoln Builders doesn't want to assume you want the same coverage as last year. So it is an active enrollment for medical, dental, and vision. So just be sure to get those forms turned into Debbie on time. Debbie loves that, so she doesn't have to call and email you. So the due date for those forms is here in I believe in about 10 days, the 15th. So get those forms back to Debbie by the 15th, and you won't have any troubles, and everyone can have a great Christmas. So I'll turn it over to Terry. I'm going to be here afterwards if you guys have any individual questions about medical,
Can you print?
dental or vision really, or life insurance. Feel free to talk to me afterwards. I'll be here as long as you are. I'll turn it over to Terry to talk a little bit more about Aflac and all the products that they could offer.
Hello again. I've been kind of listening to the medical presentation and all that he's been saying, and he did a wonderful prerequisite to Aflac. I know all of y'all know the duck. You've seen the commercials. I only wish that I had created that advertising platform. I would be rich today, but everybody knows the duck. There's a few different things out there that we're going to remember, and the duck's one of them, and the Geico's one of them, and most of us remember Flo. So you may know about Aflac, but you may not know exactly what Aflac does. So I'm going to tell you briefly what Aflac does, and then we'll discuss. I'm not going to discuss policies so much. That's something we can do on an individual basis. I'm just going to sort of give you an outline. I'm going to start off by telling you what Aflac doesn't do. It does not pay doctors or hospitals. The benefits that you receive from Aflac come directly to you to do with whatever you need to do. Each policy addresses a certain area of your life or of something that could happen to you due to accident or illness, like our short-term disability. Short-term disability is based on your annual income. It has different elimination periods from 0 days on an accident and 7 on a sickness all the way up to 60 days. It has different benefit periods from 3 months to 24 months. All of our policies are very customizable, meaning we can fit your needs and your budget together. That's why I said I need to talk with you individually to determine on the short-term disability what's best. But there's all different kinds of ways that you can do it. It protects you from accident or illness if you are off work. Most, the surveys, the studies they've done, even people that make a lot of money will say they can't live a month without a paycheck. We all tend to spend what we make. So the short-term disability is kind of an insurance for your paycheck. It helps you to have some money coming in if you are in a situation where you're not working and you're not getting paid. Another policy that we have is the accident policy. Here's your teeth situation. It pays very well on any type of accident, on the job or off. It's a 24-hour accident policy. It pays for little bitty things like if you cut your hand or if a tooth gets broken, all the way up to major things. Coma, paralysis, horrible things that you would associate with a bad fall or a car wreck or something like that. Very affordable policy. You can put your family on all policies except short-term and life. Family, you and children, you and wife, mix it up however you want to mix it up. I'll be glad to talk to you about that and explain all the benefits and everything that it has. But it's very big help in the time of a crisis because accidents are never planned. You can't save toward an accident. We have a hospital indemnity. It was built around deductibles and copays. I was looking at your medical. You have a very good medical plan, but you have a high deductible, $1,900. This plan helps to fill that bill. It helps to provide you with money for your deductibles and for your copays. It's not just a hospital policy. It's got physician visit benefits. It's got lab and x-ray, sleep study, things that don't necessarily put you in a hospital. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to get this and only use it if I go in the hospital. No, it's got several other things that help with that also. We have a cancer policy. Since I've been with Aflac, I have compared many cancer policies. And there are some things about Aflac's cancer policy that stands heads above everybody else. There's two things in particular that you look for in a cancer policy that's very important, and I'll be happy to share that with you when we talk. Louisiana is one of the top 5 states in the nation for cancer. I would think I would be safe to say that anybody in this room would not be able to say, I don't know somebody that's got cancer, I don't have anybody in my family. I mean, let's face it, it's everywhere. It's a traumatic disease, both emotionally, physically, and financially. Aflac's passion was life, that's where they started, and next was cancer. That was their second policy that they introduced. Their premiums are low. They're not age banded. An 18-year-old and a 75-year-old will pay the same amount for them. They cover a lot and they pay very quickly. Speaking of that, Aflac implemented something a couple of years ago called Smart Claim, 1-day pay. You can file your claims online. As long as you do it before 2 o'clock, the money is deposited into your bank the next day, quickly. Now, you may not have access to it till the next morning, like my bank, who does all that kind of stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's there. Why is that important? If you have cancer or any other thing going on, you need your money quickly. You don't want to have to wait weeks and weeks for it. I can tell you the thing that holds up your claim is not Aflac, it's doctors and hospitals not giving you the paperwork that you need, but we help with that too. With that being said, if you get a policy from me with Aflac, I am your agent. I believe in service. Aflac believes in service, but it's very important to me. Selling a policy is good, but if you don't follow up with that, if you're not there for your policy holders, you can buy a policy from anybody. The service is important, and I will be your agent. You'll have my personal numbers, and I help you file claims, walk you through them, do whatever is needed. I have been privileged to be able to help some people with some terrible crisis and be there for them and help them get the money they need to survive, and it's really a blessing. We also have critical care policy, which is heart attack, stroke, coma, paralysis, all of those major critical things. Let me say in closing, I know some people already have Aflac policies. I've looked everybody up to see what you've got. Some policies were gotten back in 1997, I think maybe the oldest one. Aflac policies do not go up. The price does not change. However, policies do change. Aflac tries to keep up with the times and what's going on. You can always upgrade your policy. You do not have to, but that's what open enrollment's all about, is let's see what I've got. Let's see what's most people don't have a clue what they've got. They don't know what it pays or doesn't pay. With that being said, a lot of these policies have wellness benefits every year. People don't remember that. You have money out there. Aflac does not have a time limit. I can help you get money. Everybody likes that. They will pay back to the very first year that you had your policy, even if you've never filed a wellness benefit. That's really important. So, again, call me. One of the best things that Aflac has done is allow enrollment over the phone for businesses like you who have people that are in the field and not sitting in an office, people that are in another town or another state. Now we have Texas people. We can do it over the phone. I can talk to you over the phone. If I need to meet with you one-on-one, I'd love to do that. I'd like to get to know every one of the policy holders. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way. So call me and check and see what you've got. If you've got questions about the policies, I'll be here as long as I need to be, as long as they let me stay or somebody's interested. The number that was on the email, I'm guessing y'all all got the email. The number in the book is my cell phone number. I live in Union Parish, which means we don't get very good coverage sometimes. my, home number, home office number. I'll tell it to you if you wanna write it down. It was also in the email. It's 318-982-7254. When I tell you I work 24 hours, I just about do. I've had clients call me at 11:30 at night. I'm in the hospital, what do I do? So, I don't mind. I'm here to help you and to serve you. So, any questions you have, please feel free to call me. Thank you, and I hope y'all have a wonderful Christmas and a healthy, happy, prosperous New Year.
That's right. All right, lastly, I'll turn it over to Richard with Liberty National. There's going to be some similar policies to Aflac, but there are some differences. I'll let Richard talk about those differences and what's unique and good about it. Doing good.
Richard Bowden. Hi. Thank you for letting me come in and meet with everybody, Debbie. Met with several of you many times, different places and all. Liberty National's been around since 1900, and we're just privileged to be part of North Louisiana, offering benefits that are voluntary benefits, things that will supplement your health and life policies. I'm going to pass out a flyer. If y'all could take one and pass these around. I've passed out similar things in the past. It highlights things. One thing at the top it talks about, we have two things we like to give every employee we get a chance to meet with, and we always do that without any cost or obligation to do anything else at all. Health discount card that I've heard more people this year tell me that saving them some money on prescription drugs that sometimes aren't covered under their health plan. It'd be nice if every health plan covered every drug, but they won't do that, will they?
Right.
So that's something which we give you just for talking to us. Also give you the small accidental death policy that's been in place for several years. And occasionally people have to use that. Families call and their loved one who had received that no-cost policy had passed away. But we have a very unique life insurance program that is available for the employee, their spouses, their dependent children, very reasonable rates. And for young employees, they can get that life insurance policy that will cover them actually if they live to age 120, and a young employee can only pay for it till they turn 65. So paid up at 65, that coverage goes to age 120. Very unique life and cancer policy. I actually think it's one of the best in the industry. And one of the things that makes it very unique is if you are going through treatments for cancer and you have to have radiation treatments, we're going to pay the patient $500 every single day they get a radiation treatment. Whether that's 10, 20, 30, 40. Every day they get a radiation treatment, $500 benefit. I don't know if there's anybody else who has such a good benefit there on radiation. There's lots of other good companies, but I think that's one of the best right there. And then the next thing there is called a cash cancer policy. I'm not aware of other companies who have that policy. I've got both for me and my wife, and it's a basic benefit. If you get diagnosed with a malignant cancer, whether it's some little spot or some huge major internal thing, policy you choose pays between $10,000 and $50,000 just because you got diagnosed with a malignant cancer. So it's a very important supplement also. I also mentioned that Accident Protector Max has a lot of similarities to other companies who are in the voluntary benefits. One notable difference between us and a lot of companies on the Accident Protector program is that we pay benefits based on the bills that's processed for your treatment. Some companies pay based on the diagnosis of the injury. So on ours, we're going to pay based on what's billed for your treatment, and then we're going to pick up all that difference. When I got that from me and my wife a couple years ago, we had a huge deductible, and I said, okay, that plan will help me meet at least part of my deductible. So it has paid good. My wife used it once last year, did real good. We both used it once this year, and tremendous benefits, even for minor injuries. So those are the things we do. We try to meet with every employee at every location and answer questions, review what policies a person has already, and thank you for your business and you have a policy, and also just see if there's any needs that you have and give you the no-cost items for people who don't have it. I forgot how many employees there are roughly. Lincoln Builders, 70, 80, 100?
About 100.
Out of the Ruston list, only 15 currently have the no-cost accidental death policy. So there's quite a few that don't have that I want to try to give that to. Thank you. Any questions?
Your group term life 65 life insurance,
Yes, sir.
is that what it's actually called?
That's the one that a person, if they get it before they turn 55, can get it and paid up at 65. So I'm gonna take it that you're over 55 like I am.
Yeah.
So-
I'm trying to remember when I signed up with you and when I bought it and what it was called.
Okay.
That's why I was asking what it was called.
I've got my list. What's your name?
Daryl Hobbs.
Okay, I'll look it up and let you know for sure what you got.
I appreciate it.
All right. So my information's there, and if I can answer any questions, take care of any questions, let me know. Thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, well that's give you 3 hours back. That wasn't too brutal, right? Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, like I said, we're all here. Just be sure to get those enrollment forms filled out. That way you're in the plans you need for the next year. And y'all have a good day.
If you said it, if we are, no changes, we don't really have to.
You have to fill out the benefit election form. That is a must, even for people that decline coverage. You still have to fill out that form. But that's the only thing that must be filled out in return.
And if we want vision and
If you
dental,
want to add anything, change
it wasn't on that
anything,
sheet that you handed me. I didn't see what it marked out,
well,
or had it marked on it. Cause I got dental already.
it's down at the bottom.
Delta Dental's right there, and then Vision's
Oh,
right
I got you.
there. Yeah.
But if you don't have it already, you will need to tell me that you want something new. Say you don't have vision and you
Well, I
want
don't
vision,
really know.
and then I have to fill out an
I
application.
think I've got vision, I don't know, I know I've got the dental,
Yeah.
so, I don't know. I can come by tomorrow and
Yeah, if you have access.
look on my what?
It's on your pay stub.
Check your pay stub. Yeah, that's
So that thing you get in the email every week, it's on there.
What are you talking about?
You have dental but not vision.
Okay, I'm gonna wind up adding that. Are you kidding? As much trouble as I had with my mouth a few years back,
We were sitting in that, FCA banquet.
I had to pay for two. Root canals, I had to have two on the same day.
And when my dental fixed
Oh,
up,
oh, yeah,
that's a few
suffer,
thousand. Right?
suffer,
it hurt,
yeah.
hurt
In
bad.
pain and financially.
This one,
That was nice.
and one here, so it was two uppers that I had done in the same day. Oh my goodness.
I'll even
Hey now.
Wow, good problem.
can't have it because you got the chair over there.
Well, I didn't
I
want
don't think